This is Paul Siebel. He lives in Medellin, Colombia. He's in Colombia. He's on a coffee farm in Colombia. He's going to talk to us about Seed to Cup. He's also going to talk a little bit about where he's at. And then we'll take some questions at the end of the presentation. But hello, Paul in Colombia. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for the time here. I hope everything's doing well.
It's a beautiful day in Ohio.
Yeah. So I'm actually in a very special place. But I don't know if this worked out. Not only am I at a coffee farm, but I'm actually at an orphanage. It's a little bit of both. It's a very special place. This is an orphanage for children that have been victims of the conflict area here in Colombia and in post-conflict. Also, children are coming from rough areas. They suffer from domestic violence. This orphanage is actually managed, and it's called San Jose de la Montaña. They do really great work here, and the kids have for themselves their own coffee, a small little garden and a little coffee farm. So I'd love to show you the farm. We have 6,000 coffee trees here, and right in the middle of the city of Medellin. So the metropolitan area of Medellin is around 2.5 million people. We're at an altitude of 1,750 meters above sea level, which makes it very conducive for coffee. As you can see, this orphanage is literally surrounded by coffee. And the nuns mix the harvest here, and they sell local big sandwich. So actually, you guys are really.
That's coffee. And that's it. And this is a good point. Can you put that up again, Paul?
Very, very good, very good.
Tell me about we get that stem again. So this is what's really important in coffee. A lot of people go out, let's say you're in a country that produces coffee like Vietnam. They'll go out into the field one time and they'll take everything off. Well, as you can see, we have red, we have a little bit of yellow, and then we have a lot of green. So you're never going to get a perfect plant that's all red. It's a rarity. So what happens is we want to go out several times. We want to go out anywhere from 3 to 6 times and selectively pick just those right cherries. That means that we're going to get higher quality coffee. That's the number one thing that we can do. The first thing that we can do with our coffee is selectively pick. Okay, go ahead.
All right, well, let me just walk a little bit down here. The nuns have done an excellent job in managing this farm. And again, when I'm talking about child labor, the children are able to take care of different crops. We have bean crops here. This year is called a type of onion, like a green onion. Of course, we have I'm from Ohio as well. You guys recognize what that is. The corn, we have bananas here. Now we have more of a green onion. So what Brandon and I worked on in Peru and here in Colombia is how to take advantage of biodynamic farms, right? So the term that we like to use is eco-efficient farms. So we like to feed in, or essentially let a farm provide us not just with coffee, but other things as well. And also use different shade growth trees and other bushels to help prevent or to reduce risks that we may have on the farm. This is one example. This is lemongrass here. So But the grass, of course, is a great, it's great aroma, it's great in tea and cuisine. You've got really great roots that helps protect the composition. Now this farm, specific flat land, majority of farms are not like Serpent's Mountains. Heavy rains, there's calm, trees, and mulch. So this is a natural way to prevent erosion. And of course, grass petitionula acts as a species of an insect repellent. To help us with bugs and infected cotton.
Cool. All right,
So,
we're actually going to get to some Q&A if we want to field any questions. Who in the crowd has a question for Paul about coffee production or about seed cup or anything of that nature? Or Columbia?
How many bags of coffee or how much coffee do you usually get from coffee?
So the question is how many bags or how much coffee can come from one coffee plant?
Okay, we've been experimenting a lot with really high yield organic fertilizers. Organic coffee is typically known to be at a lower yield per tree. Again, we're talking about Caturas and Castillas. The numbers I'm about to tell you vary between varietals. Some varietals yield less, but are very exotic and they're very high quality coffees. Again, referencing Brandon and the coffees he sees in Ethiopia, for example. The average in Colombia, as per the Federación Nacional de Cafeteros, will take 300 grams, just shy of a pound, per tree for a harvest of what's called Perragino or parchment coffee. So again, going back to that cherry, if I'm removing the pulp, drying the bean, so just shy of a pound of that. So maybe a third of that will result in the roasted coffee. That said, we have some experimental model farms that we're getting up to 5 times a result. It's 1,580 grams. So that's 3 pounds of parchment coffee. So, and this is actually a really important discussion that the coffee community is having on how to not only increase quality, but increase yield.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Next question. Any other questions, guys? Yeah.
Curious, going back to selective picking, how important is selective picking, and can coffee continue to mature once it's picked, or does it just stop?
Yeah, that's a good question. We're talking about this, a lot, like, the coffee's a seed, and the seed is an embryo. It's a living thing. And a big part of how we process coffee to get higher quality is how to protect our babies. There's that. The way that we process, the way that we select, the way that we treat the natural occurring sugars in the cherry, the fermentation process, the drying process, the logistical process of shipment. A lot of that's taken care of babies. As far as cherries go, we can talk a lot about the best, this fruit is harvested on a per scale. So we're essentially measuring sugars. So that color, that deep red tone of a cherry is the optimal level of sugar that we're looking for. It's important to note that the optimal sugar content are the best tasting profiles a lot of this is around simulation. So, what we do know is that harvest the green stuff, no good.
Cool, thank you. Oh yeah, can we get an introduction to the nun behind you there?
Yeah.
Welcome to Medellin.
Yeah.
So we're Colombia. As the reference, I can't remember if I mentioned that. Yeah, in case you I'll have her speak briefly about her work, but it's just really spectacular. And you're all welcome if you're happy to check out what the business in Colombia.
Tenemos un hogar de niñas vulnerables, pobres, niñas desplazadas a causa de la violencia.
We have a home here for children from domestic abuse, from violence, from poor living conditions, and that have been displaced.
Las mamás trabajan como empleadas domésticas, dejan de las niñas a los jefes de la semana. Fin de semana con la mamá.
So the children are out throughout the week, come home for their guardian parent or mother, spend time with their mothers. ¿Cuántos niños?
Ahora tenemos 35. La capacidad para las causas económicas, las mamás no las pueden traer por el hasta el sitio donde tenemos que estar.
So they have installations from 100 children. Today they only have 35 children that's 2 weeks. A lot comes from hardships and the publics in the institution bringing them in, and also one from the orphans. But my experience here is that this program ran through the Laura, who actually helped to promote. Some of these children are coming from mothers that suffer from prostitution. These children are sons and daughters of baby birth and even some cartel members. So I'm really proud of this program, and it's unique that I'm for me.
Cool. All right, man. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for joining us all the way from Colombia. Mucho gusto. And we really appreciate you connecting with us here all the way in Ohio.
It's our pleasure. I love it.
Con gusto. Perdón, tú.
Please come and visit.
Los esperamos.
We're waiting for you.
We'll see you in October, man.
A ver, muy bien.
Round of applause for Paul. Thank you so much, Paul. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks, brother.
Enjoy.
All right, so real quickly, just to recap kind of what he said. Coffee is a plant, and it's an evergreen. It can grow pretty high if you don't trim it, but it wouldn't make sense to do that because you have a lot of cellular respiration, or a lot of energy is devoted to producing the cherries. If you let it grow for whatever reason, that energy will be converted to the stems and leaves and the new growth. So we really want to control that, and so we have it about this high. There's dwarf plants out there. There's different varieties of coffee that are very, very short, and they continue to grow those because indigenous folks in Central and South America are somewhat short. So it made a lot of sense to grow those. One thing that he did mention was that there's Arabica and Robusta. Robusta is a low-grown coffee that's easy to grow. It's a weed, essentially. It has twice the amount of caffeine and half the amount of sugar as Arabica. Caffeine is essentially caffeic acid. Caffeic acid is bitter, very, very bitter. So it's offensive. Sugars convert during roasting process and create flavors. And that's what we like in coffee. We like coffee to be very nuanced and smooth and sweet, and that's what we get with Arabica. there's a lot of coffee growing regions anywhere close to the equator. I think I have that here. In between the tropical Capricorn and Cancer. But thank goodness we have this thing called global warming, right? Because now we can grow coffee anywhere. There's people, you guys know Jason Mraz? Yeah. He grows coffee in California. So he has a coffee farm out there. He's a principal of that. There's also coffee now growing in China. And I just got some recently that scored 89 points, which is super delicious. Crazy. Taiwan just started growing coffee as well. So coffee comes, the seed, we take that cherry, we put it in the ground, we put it in riverbed, or river rock, a bed like this, really loose, washed river rocks, and we get a seedling. That seedling is taken and it's gone to a nursery. The nursery has to be, you have to be very careful with this, because those plants are susceptible to a lack of rain, or too much sun, or disease, or insects. So we keep them covered and we water them often. They flower, like we saw. It's a rarity to see a plant with flowers, green cherry and red cherry on it, but they have it there. We get fruit. These are green cherries, and then we also, this is a yellow varietal of coffee, so we got a lot of yellow fruit there. And then it turns red. We get ripe cherries. What happens when you keep it on too long? It raisins. We get black. Some people like that. A lot of farmers in Brazil tend to pick coffee when it's like this, where there are a lot of raisins or cherries on the plant. So right now, Brazil produces the most coffee. Ethiopia is growing though. This is older data, 2015. So now Ethiopia is up there. I think they just exceeded Indonesia. Indonesia saw a loss of 67% of the crop this year. So with climate change and global warming, it's helping some people, but it's really hurting a lot of other people. And if you think about where coffee's grown, it's typically not grown on flat land. It's grown on a mountain. And you lose surface area as you go up that mountain. And you have to go up that mountain to avoid those hot temperatures. If coffee sees temperatures of 95 degrees Fahrenheit for more than an hour, it will degrade the quality of the cup by 1 point. That's huge. I mean, that could be the difference between buying the coffee for $2 a pound or buying the coffee for $2.50 a pound. It's very significant. So we're really worried about that, but Brazil, they're always going to be able to grow coffee, because they grow coffee down there like we grow soy or corn here. So again, it's harvested by machine or hand picked. Machine, that has to be flat land. Guess where everyone's favorite coffee is typically picked by machine? Hawaii. So you're getting that Kona coffee, it's picked by machine. And guess what happens when you pick it by machine? It vibrates the tree till everything's off that tree. What did we learn earlier with Paul? There's green, there's yellow, and there's red. So you're not getting the great quality coffee. So when you go to the grocery store and pay like $50 for that bag of Kona coffee, so there's the difference. You have coffee that's strip picked or picked by machine, and then you have coffee that's selectively picked. It just looks better, doesn't it? So we have new terminology. We used to say there's washed coffee, semi-washed coffee, and unwashed coffee. The SCA, the Specialty Coffee Association, has decided that we should all talk in a universal way that makes a little bit more sense. So we're talking about how you dry the coffee. So we have pulp dried, where you take the skin off and you leave the pulp on and you dry it. We have parchment dried, which means that it's been washed of all the fruit. It's been probably fermented, and we just dry the parchment. We have sea dried, where in Indonesia, it's typical that they take that parchment off, they wet hull it, where it's not dried all the way, and then they dry the green bean in the green stick. And then we have fruit dried, where we leave it on. These are all going to impact the cup differently, especially doing it in different countries. A lot of coffee that comes from Ethiopia is natural process or fruit dried process, where it's going to be super fruity, it's going to have a lot of body, but you can get some dirtiness from it because you're leaving sugars on the fruit or on the parchment. So So it's more susceptible to disease, mold, bacteria that can ruin the flavor of the cup. Yes.
What makes coffee when you buy a whole bean shiny? What do they do to it when it's shiny?
So those are the oils coming to the surface. Typically that means that you roasted to the coffee to the point that the cellulose, or the carbon structure of the actual bean itself, has opened up its pores, and those things are coming to the surface. There's a lot of soluble material inside of coffee. About 30% of the whole bean is soluble. That material is stuck in there with lactose, which means it's going to taste really good. All that soluble material is the stuff we want in our cup. But if you dark roast it, it opens those pores up and allows it to come to the surface. You lose a lot of the aromatic properties of the coffee. So roasting, like we just said, a lot of it has to do with science and art. We utilize both. Dave's been roasting for a really long time, and when he gets a coffee in, he looks at it and says, okay, we can probably roast it this way. We modulate flavor during roasting, so we can bring out the acidity of the coffee, which is really good, not the pH level, but the perception of brightness in the cup. And we can also highlight the sweetness of the cup. Or we can come to a balance of those. So we discuss it, we roast it, we use thermocouplers, which measures heat inside of the drum and inside of the bean to figure out a curve so that we can replicate it, but at the same time, a lot of that's done just by experience. There's some art to it. So it's a little bit of both. And the enemies of roasted coffee, don't store your coffee in the freezer unless you're going to keep it really, really like a back tight, and you're not going to use that coffee for about 3 hours after you take it out, or open that package for about 3 hours. So if you want to get really scientific and geeky about it, freeze your coffee, but please don't. We all don't have time for that. Moisture. Again, freezing coffee, you bring it out, a lot of that moisture will come out, condensation, it'll ruin the coffee. Odors. Coffee picks up odors. Why do you think that you smell coffee in the perfume store or whatever? But they have to throw that out occasionally because it will absorb some of those odors. And then freshness, speed, and packaging. Coffee directly out of the roaster is not good. Fresh coffee, right out of the can, in my opinion, is not good. Why? Because there's too much carbon dioxide inside it. If you let that coffee degas, if you let some of that carbon dioxide come out, it will allow you to better prepare the coffee so that you can taste the aromatics and the soluble material inside. When we roast coffee here, we taste it, we probably put it in, for espresso, we wait about a week before we prepare it. If we're doing a filter or a batch brew, we'll probably wait 2 to 4 days before we brew. You need that coffee to have a little bit of time to rest. Cool. Yes?
How can I explain to my friends why cycle is that
Tell them that when you bring coffee out of the freezer, well first, if you don't do it in a vacuum and seal, it will absorb some of the flavors in the freezer. So I don't know about anyone else's freezer, my freezer's not the nicest smelling place. I mean, it doesn't smell terrible, but it's got that like freezer burn kind of smell to it. I don't want that in my coffee. The second thing is when you bring it out, you have to wait 3 hours to enjoy that coffee. And no one's that patient. No one's that patient for coffee. At least in my world, I'm not that patient. What other questions you guys have? Cool. Thank you guys so much. Thank you for the technical difficulties. Internet and far off places, difficult. That was really cool though. The non-meeting even better. That was really awesome. Paul Seaball actually grew up in Ohio. He's a friend of Crimson Cup. He runs a company called Reach Trade, and I continue to travel with him every year. Fantastic. He's doing a lot of good work.
I missed introductions. What's your role here?
I'm the Director of Education and Sustainability.
Okay.
All right, so what we have up next is Taylor from Third Wave, Water. He's going to talk to us briefly about water science, and then we'll field questions. And then I have a coffee professional from Peru with better internet. She's in Lima. So I'm hoping that we have a really good internet connection. And we're going to talk about sustainability in coffee and coffee culture of Peru. And that's right after the talk with Taylor from Third Wave. So we're probably talking 7:20 or so. Thank you guys so much.